Sup people, welcome to our channel.
Today we will be looking at plastering of the exterior of your building and the associated cost.
So the first thing we would look at is the mixing of the mortar. So for our project, we were mixing the plastering mortar the same way we mix the mortar for laying blocks. That is every 2 bags to 5 wheelbarrows of sand. So 1 bag is 2.5 wheelbarrows of sand. Some people would do 1 bag to 3, but we wanted to use the same mix design that we use for the mortar joints. We felt because it's an outside job, we should go with this so that at least the plastering will be stronger. So that is what you see. The mixture basically would need to have this consistency.
So we had to rent scaffold, and the cost for renting 1 room, which is 1 level, is 20 Ghana cedis per day. So we had to rent I think 8 rooms, but at a point we took 4 rooms back. I already bought 5 rooms because of the height of the building. I felt we needed a permanent scaffold so that we can use for renovation and maintenance any point in time without having to rent.
So in addition to the one that we own, it means we used 13 rooms in total. For those curious about the purchase price of the scaffold,
I bought the imported one. A room was 600 cedis, that's the Italian type. So in all, we spent about 1,200 Ghana cedis on the rental of the scaffold.
if you compare this amount to the bamboo system, which I later discovered and you would see at the end of the video, you would notice that the bamboo system is more cost effective, over 20 times cheaper than this metal scaffolding. Let me make this point for those undertaking apartment projects so that they wouldn't make the same mistakes that we did. Initially, I wanted to have the beams and the columns overlap the plastered walls. But my wife made a point, a very valid point. She indicated that if we overlap the beams and the pillars, as you see in the video, dust is going to accumulate. You would have wasp nests in the corners, spider making cobwebs, and basically we need to be cleaning it often, and it made sense. So I decided to go ahead and have the wall and the beam flush. So at that point, we had already plastered part of the 3-bedroom side and then just the ground floor of the 2-bedroom side. So we had to fill it. But before we do the filling on the old plastered wall, we had to roughen the old plaster, put in some nails and then binding wire to make sure that it bonds with the old one, and then start the plastering. So this actually cost us a lot. We had to fill about 2 to 3 inches. Meanwhile, if I had made up my mind right from the onset to have the beams, the columns and the wall to flush, we could have laid the blocks at the edge of the beams and then the columns, instead of leaving the 2 inches from the edge of the beam that I made them leave. And to further ensure a good bond between the old plastered wall and the filling that we were going to do, we had to splash cement paste on the old wall, as you can see. That is after we did the nails and then the binding wire, before going ahead to start the plastering. With that said, let's look at the next step in the plastering process. So the first thing is to pick the level on the wall. So as you can see, they will string a rope and then use the spirit level on a pipe to get the level. Some people use wood for the plastering, but these guys decided to use metal pipes, so I bought that for them. That was about 40 cedis for one 18 feet one. So once, if you buy one, you split it into two and then they can use that. The pipes are usually straight from the factory, so it ensures that there are no unevenness in the wall once they are done. Once the rope is leveled, he would go ahead and put mortar at specific intervals. So that will be the guide whilst he's plastering, because he's going to remove the rope as you see on your screen. The splashing of the cement powder is to ensure the mortar hardens fast, so that it doesn't move whilst he plasters. Throughout the course of the plastering, they will be checking with these marks. They'll put a pipe on these marks to make sure that it is in line with whatever they are doing. Along the line, they were splashing the cement on the entire plaster to speed it because of the filling, so that it will harden and then they can smoothen it. I initially allowed, but at a point I realized that the cement was being wasted. Initially we were using just about a bag of cement a day for the splashing, and then the next thing I realized was they were using about 3 bags, so I had to stop it and then ask them to just fill and wait. If it means they had to continue the following day, they will. All they needed to do was to fill the other places instead of just filling one area and splashing the cement for it to dry to complete that. So the next step is to start the plastering itself. So they would fill depending on the thickness that is required. So like I indicated, ours required a thick filling. We did between 2 and 3 inches for the most part, and that is about 85%. The thickest part was about 3.5 to 4 inches. That's the maximum we got to. Ideally, plastering should be between 1 and 3 inches thick, but we went a little above it, up to 4 inches, and that is the very reason why we decided to put the binding wire and the nails in there to act as a reinforcement. So the nail will kind of hold it, and then the binding wire would also help avoid any possible cracks that would arise. So far, it's been a year since we did the plastering at the 3-bedroom side, and it is holding really well. No cracks develop, and it's fine, even though we went a little above the ideal maximum thickness of 3 inches. I believe the nails and then the binding wire really helped. The good thing is, the 2-bedroom side, we are not going to do that much filling at the top parts, because I made them lay the blocks at the edge of the external edge of the beams and the columns. So that side we wouldn't have to do so much filling. So we would do the typical plastering width of about 1 inch or 1.5 inches. So here is a little tip for you. Usually when they are plastering, the mortar drops. So I had to tell them to put a board there. So basically what happens is, once it drops, it's going to be on the board, and then they can actually collect it and use it. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of the mortar dropping, especially being outside. If If it's inside, they can easily collect it because that has the concrete base. But with this, it's going to mix with the sand if you have no board there. If you paid attention a while ago, you will notice that that board was even acting as a base for the mason to put the mortar to do the plastering. So just take note of that, because the workers may not necessarily be concerned about that. Theirs is just to do the work. So if you don't draw their attention to it, they're going to do it without the board, and it's going to make a significant portion of the mortar go waste. Now let's talk about the bamboo scaffold that I mentioned earlier. So whilst doing the 3-bedroom side with the scaffold rental and the one that I bought, I got a Nigerian worker who suggested that we use bamboo for the scaffold because that's what is done in Nigeria. I was a bit skeptical because of safety reasons, so I did a bit of research by checking how it's done in Nigeria. And instead of seeing bamboo scaffolding in Nigeria, I rather saw this video of bamboo scaffolding for skyscrapers in Hong Kong. So we gave it a try, and as you can see, that is what we are using for the 2-bedroom side. Basically, this is easy to mount, it's light, so one person actually did this, and it's quite flexible. And from my understanding, this can be there for at least 2 months. If you compare the price of one bamboo, which is 5 cedis now, 6 of it can make 1 room, which is even higher than the steel one. If you buy 6 of those, that's 30 cedis. The rental, as at last year, for one steel room was 20. So even if it's 30 now, that's 30 cedis for the steel room is for a day, and this same amount for 1 room of bamboo will last for at least 2 months. So of course, if there's termites in your area, that is not going to work out. But if your place is termite free like mine, that should basically be able to last for 2 months. So I gave it a try, and so far it's working fine. As you can see, it was used to plaster the 2-bedroom side, and it's going pretty well. Okay, so let's look at the costs and quantities.
So for the job that you see, that is the whole of the front, one of the sides, and then the back of the 2-bedroom side, and that of the 3-bedroom side, excluding
the ground floors at the back of both the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom sides, and then the side of the 3-bedroom part.
We used 140 bags, and the total cost
of workmanship was about 11,000 Ghana cedis, which is about $2,000. This is exclusive of the scaffold rental, and then also the bamboo scaffolding, which costs about 600 Ghana cedis for the mountain, just for the 2-bedroom side. And we bought 70 bamboos for the whole of the 2-bedroom side.
This shouldn't be the typical cost. Like I explained earlier, we had to fail. So typically, for the normal plastering for the 2-bedroom side, you should be looking at about 30 bags for 1 unit. That's 1 floor.
So for the cost, this is how I negotiated to get the estimate I mentioned earlier. A day, a mason and a laborer are supposed to do 2 bags, and that will typically cover 12 feet by 24 feet if you're doing normal plastering. So if you go by that calculation with 200 Ghana cedis a day for the mason and the laborer, then
a typical cost will be for each floor, you should be looking at
3,000 Ghana cedis, which is about $500 for the 2-bedroom unit.
So for a whole floor, that's the 3-bedroom and the 2-bedroom, just the outside,
5,000 Ghana cedis
should be ideal for the workmanship. Again, ours was a little bit high because of the filling.
So they had to use 2 bags of cement for a 12 feet by 12 feet space instead of the typical 12 feet by 24 feet mentioned earlier.
So even with this thick filling, one trip of sand
was more than enough. And you will notice that the plaster is not as smooth as glass, and that is because the paint needs to bond well with the wall. So when they are doing the plastering, they use foam to rub on top, or the normal painter's brush to brush on, so that at least there'll be little roughness.
So we're still looking at about 40 to 50 more bags to go to finish the ground floors of the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom side, and then the other side of the building. So it means that by the time we finish just the outside plastering, we probably would have used almost 200 bags. Again, this is a little bit on the high side because of the filling that we had to do.
That is it for this episode. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave all your comments in the comments section below. And if you have any question that requires a detailed answer, you are at liberty to reach us by email, and we would respond to you every Saturday or Sunday. See you in a bit. Enjoy, people.